The Apache have long honored the bond they hold with creatures of the wild. This prayer is to the life giver, asking for the strengthening of that bond to bring about healing. Words cast into the wind on the threads of burning sage.
The Arizona desert is full of life, but sometimes animals get into trouble. And that's when the Tucson Wildlife Center goes to work.
The folks at TWC work around the clock, rescuing and rehabilitating injured and orphaned wild animals. This Bobcat Kitten and its sibling were born under a school. Trappers were called in to remove the mother bobcat and her litter. As a result, the mother became so stressed she quit feeding. One kitten died, and this one barely holds on. A release cannot be considered until the kitten is big enough and strong enough to keep up with its mother, who at the moment wants nothing to do with her baby. The kitten is being fed a formula, but it is a poor substitute for mother's milk. Tucson is like many cities, growing beyond its current boundaries, reaching into habitat once occupied solely by wildlife. The truth is, a lot of wild animals are living among us.
My first case was a raccoon that was very badly injured, and nobody would help him. I drove over this whole town. I had nowhere to go. So this animal suffered because of it, and I just promised myself that that wouldn't happen again.
So a determined Lisa Bates bought a piece of land on the far east side of town, went to the library, checked out a book on how to build an adobe house, and did just that. The Tucson Wildlife Center was founded in 1998, and ever since, she and husband Pete Lanninger have made it their mission to rescue and rehabilitate wild animals with a goal of releasing them back into the wild. This baby raccoon was found all alone on the front porch of a house in a new subdivision. No mother or siblings in sight. Roughly 6 weeks old, Scruffy won't have a mother to teach her how to survive in the wild. She'll be taught by the staff at TWC.
If there were multiple coons, we would not habituate her to people, but they're very social, so she needs some kind of interaction and enrichment. Otherwise, she would be way too lonely.
As sociable as Scruffy is becoming, she, like most wild animals, do not make good pets.
And she'll go to a place with perennial water that has frogs and a lot of fish and stuff that she can eat and explore. But right now, she's lonely and scared.
A call has come in about a javelina that has been on the premises of a home in a residential neighborhood for most of the day, and the people inside are afraid to come out. TWC's Lou Ray Whitehead responds to the scene. After determining the animal is injured, she decides to dart it and bring it in for examination. The javelina has other ideas and moves to the neighboring house. But Lou anticipates the javelina's next move, gets into position, and the dart hits its mark. The javelina begins to run down an alley, and Lou follows from a distance. The medication takes effect immediately, and the javelina will soon be asleep. A later examination will reveal the pads of its hooves are badly damaged, explaining why she has become separated from the herd. Feline Flores has been called to a neighborhood where a brown pelican far from the Gulf has crash-landed into a yard and appears to be in very bad shape.
It's all right. You're okay. You're okay.
The young pelican was probably blown off course in a storm. Feline will sit up all night with the bird, trying to keep it alive. The need for animal rescue is at an all-time high. Lisa and Lou are up late trying to help an injured bobcat that has stopped traffic after being struck by a vehicle whose driver did not bother to stop. The male bobcat resists, even with multiple fractures and internal bleeding. Despite efforts to save him, he will die of his injuries within hours. Tucson Wildlife Center is on call 24/7. Lou and Native American Presley Beach Jr. have responded to a call about an injured great horned owl first spotted on the side of the road, believed to have been struck by a car.
It was just laying against a rock. Its head was up and looking at us, but it looked like it couldn't move much else.
A deputy sheriff helps to direct the rescue team to the owl, which has moved down a sheer cliffside. Lou is able to grab the injured animal. An unseen examination does not reveal any apparent injuries, but she also knows if she leaves the dazed owl here, it will die.
These are majestic animals that are out here, but for the encroachment of humanity up here, he would have been living up here fine.
The team will take the owl back to the center to hydrate it and take some x-rays to determine definitively what the problem is. Barring a turn for the worse, the owl has a good chance of making it.
It's nasty work in tough country and rattlesnakes probably all over the place. So it's a good job.
Trappers have been called to a house where a raccoon has taken up residence in the chimney. When they arrive, the mother raccoon is gone, but her 3 babies, who have never seen the light of day, are moving around the damper in the chimney. Pete arrives on scene, hoping the 3 young coons will be about Scruffy's age. The trappers decide it will be easiest to bring the coons out of the top of the chimney by using a snare.
Got one.
Raccoons like to use chimneys to birth and raise their young because they don't have to worry about bobcats, coyotes, or other predators. But it can get messy. Raccoons urinate and defecate in their dens, and people often smell them before they have any idea they have coons in the house.
It's very common for people to call us and say, oh, I have a raccoon trapped in my chimney. Trapped is the last thing he is. You can look down the chimney and see the paw prints from where they're going in. And they're big enough so they kind of just put their paws against one side and their back against the other, and they can scamper right up through there.
Too bad, really. In another week or so, the 3 youngsters would have been old enough to follow their mother out of the chimney. Mark Hammond transfers the coons over to Pete, who will take them to TWC, where they will be raised until ready for release. Scruffy couldn't be happier. She has new playmates. They will grow up together and be released as a family. The enclosures at Tucson Wildlife Center are built within a mesquite bosque bordering a riverbed to allow the rescued and orphaned animals to feel comfortable in a familiar environment. A flight cage is used to rehabilitate birds of prey with damaged wings. After surgery, the flight cage is the final stop before being released back into the wild. They are here to rebuild muscle and stamina.
It's kind of like humans. You break your arm, you're in a cast for 6 weeks, and then after you get out of the cast, you have to go through therapy and rehab to get your strength back up. Well, these guys are like athletes. They have to be 100%.
So the birds are flown back and forth from one end of the enclosure to the other.
And you time their breathing to see how quick they recover their normal breathing. And that's what lets you know when they're ready to release.
Young birds who have never hunted live prey learn those skills in the flight cage so they will be proficient in the wild. A young Harris hawk, nursed and released on site, is being a big baby. While recuperating, he was fed a supplemental diet of mice as he learned to fend for himself. But the young hawk wants the handouts to continue, and he is letting that be known. If he doesn't quit being a pest and fly away soon, he'll have to be captured and released far away.
Okay, well then all the quails on that side are done.
Volunteers are the backbone of Tucson Wildlife Center as they prepare and deliver a set menu of food to the animals around the clock.
Come on.
It's been a busy season for young brown pelicans blown off course from the
There
Gulf.
he goes. He's thinking about it.
They become exhausted and literally drop from the sky into the Arizona desert, the worst place imaginable for a pelican. No ocean and no food. They are tube fed until they have the strength to eat on their own.
Yeah, you can do it.
This pelican encountered another problem. After landing in a community swimming pool, a law enforcement officer overreacted and sprayed the pelican with mace. causing the animal and TWC workers to choke on fumes for several days.
Hopefully within the next couple days they'll be eating on their own, and they'll be playing, flapping, getting strong. That's when we get them over to SeaWorld in San Diego.
Most of the javelina that come to TWC are orphan babies.
We get them from all parts of the city and most of southern Arizona, and we put the babies together and create a new herd. It's labor intensive, but it's great for the genetic diversity of them.
They raise the new herd here and then take the animals a couple of 100 miles away where they are acclimated and then released. Release is the ultimate goal for all animals that come to Tucson Wildlife Center, but there are a few permanent residents. Lightning is a rare albino red-tailed hawk. He is a target for predators because he cannot camouflage. When the hawk arrived at TWC, he was in bad shape.
His feathers had been broken. His flight feathers were broken from the brittleness of the southwest sun on his feathers, because without pigment in the feathers, they dry out and break. So he had no feathers to fly, he couldn't hunt, and he almost died.
Lightning is now used in education, as is this great horned owl. TWC takes its message into the community, hoping to inspire and recruit stewards for wildlife.
They're astonished at the range of animals that we have to rescue and take care of, and the ability that we have to rehabilitate all of them.
Wilbur's story is indicative of what is happening to so many wild animals in the Tucson area. He's a lovable bobcat who quite obviously has total trust in Pete. A day doesn't go by these two don't spend time together.
Wilbur came in as about a 4-week-old kitten. His den was bulldozed and it killed his siblings. And he's non-releasable because he's epileptic and gets seizures.
Wilbur is almost 7 now and does occasionally share his space with Wilma, who was just a kitten when she bit a woman who stuck her hand where she shouldn't have. The law says if a wild animal bites a human, the animal must be killed and tested for rabies. But the woman wanted the cat spared, and so she underwent a series of rabies shots in return for Game and Fish allowing Wilma to live permanently at the center. Pete occasionally takes Wilbur for walks. The bobcat likes the grass and a chance to explore. It's a comfortable and safe existence for Wilbur, but not the life he was meant to have. Our 3-week-old Bobcat Kitten might get that chance, but first, little Nico must survive. A stealth camera reveals its mother continues to show no interest, in fact, warns the kitten to stay away. It's time for intervention. The mother will be released, and Ruby, another adult female who has been watching nearby, will be given the chance to be the kitten's surrogate mother. Animals that come to Tucson Wildlife Center injured or orphaned are rehabilitated and in most cases released back into the wild. The only mistake Nico's mother made was giving birth underneath a school. If she had picked a place non-threatening to people, there probably would not have been a problem. The second she was trapped, she went into survival mode, which did not include the welfare of her kittens. After being given ample opportunity at TWC to demonstrate maternal instincts for little Nico, it has been decided the best course of action is to release the mother. That decision pays off. Surrogate or not, Ruby claims little Nico as her own. While it will be months before Nico is grown and gone, a young night heron taken in as a chick is ready to taste the wild for the first time. This pond will make perfect habitat. The heron may not know what a prime spot this is, but will decide for itself if this is where he will stay. TWC tries to reunite rehabilitated animals with their families, put them back in the same area they were rescued, and that often means populated parts of town. Lou has brought a Harris hawk back to the very spot she was found injured. When the hawk first came to the center, its wing was damaged and it had become dangerously thin. This is an especially satisfying moment for a rehabber. We may not know it, but these birds of prey are living in trees in our backyards. Renee releases a Cooper's hawk in a neighborhood where it was found. Feline is busy releasing 2 young Cooper's hawks that came to TWC as orphans. They were found abandoned and almost dead. Feline has brought the young hawks back to the place where they were born, and where a second family of Cooper's hawks now live. A mother and 2 fledglings are in a nearby tree watching everything Feline is doing. The 2 captive raised birds are placed into a tree and provided lunch. They have learned the basics of hunting in the flight cage, so tomorrow they are on their own.
We are hoping that in having the other mother here with the 2 fledglings, just by observing them, they'll learn how what they need to do to hunt and how to survive. The difference between the 2 fledglings that were raised here in these nests by the wild mother and the 2 fledglings that we have had at our center, you know, ultimately they're the same age. They have very fit bodies that are very capable of hunting. The difference mainly is that the ones that were raised here in the wild were able to see their mother every day.
Feline is interrupted by the mother hawk, who shows all 4 fledglings how it's done.
I set some quail up in the tree for the 2 that we released, and apparently she decided to take advantage of the moment.
Lesson number 1 for our 2 fledglings. Private landowners with prime habitat play a key role in the success rate of some of the larger animals being released by TWC.
You can't just dump them out into the desert. So we seek out ranchers, and we've come up with some wonderful ranches where we acclimate the animals for 3 weeks, and then we release them into the environment. They now claim that as their new territory.
Doesn't really cost me anything other than a little of my time every now and then. So I help them with anything I can. I enjoy seeing wild animals in the wild. I really enjoy that. So if I get to see a coon in my place that they release, or a hawk or something to that effect, it makes my day.
Many others are coming on board to help TWC's cause, including veterinarians like Dr. Marcella Ashton, who give their time and expertise.
We want to try an anti-inflammatory that will penetrate through the cornea without affecting the cornea. I think we owe something to the community and wildlife in general. I mean, what we do is a pretty specialized field, and we're pretty privileged to be doing what we're doing. We have a lot of very good patients that pay for our services, and this is where we can give back to wildlife in the area.
Less than 24 hours after Ruby accepts her role as surrogate mother, little Nico is showing remarkable progress.
I think he looks a lot healthier, he looks a lot happier. He's walking around more, he's not shaking like he was before. Now with Ruby in there, she shows him what to do. She kind of plays with him. I saw her playing with him. She's giving him a reason to live.
A success story in the making. Nico has a new mom thanks to the Tucson Wildlife Center. His surrogate mother is teaching him how to be a bobcat. Nico is one of hundreds of animals rescued and rehabbed each year. Amazing considering TWC has such a small staff and relies heavily on volunteers and donations to keep the operation running.
They're really dedicated to taking in all the different animals, regardless of their species and regardless of their level of injury or need.
They are dedicated people doing something that really involves all of us, the welfare of our wildlife as cities continue to grow. There are no easy answers to the dilemma, humankind and animals occupying the same space. Perhaps in time, the healing of broken wings and the bonding of new families will lead to a restoration and renewal of the balance of nature.